Well, we're back here at the workbench today, and we've got a Bachmann GP35 that I'm going to install a decoder in. I'm going to install a Digitrax SDXH 166D, and these are programmable with sound files from the Digitrax website, and I'm sure we'll probably go through that on my PR3. We'll hook it up to the computer and see what we can do with it. So we might as well get right into this. We'll get this thing taken apart and see what we've got to do to it. First we'll take the screws out of the fuel tank here. Put them back there in a safe place. Alright, and then we've got two screws here in the bottom that hold the shell on. So we'll get those out. Lay this stuff off to the side. Now this is the third, I believe it's the third install that I have filmed anyway. That just pulls right off. Lay that back there. Okay. I like to hardwire these boards in. So, or the decoders, I mean. We'll pull this board off. Pull that screw out. There's another screw right there. Now these are my leads coming off of the trucks. These are the black and red are the motor leads coming off of the pickups on the trucks. The green and orange are the wires that go to the motor. And this already has DCC in it, but no sound. So we're going to upgrade it to have some sound. And I'll just snip those off. And then I will I was going to take and mark that front and back. There's my marker. So we'll lay that off to the side. Now, I may have to, with this one, mill the frame out a little bit. pull up that. That's for the light. So let's see. What do I want to do here? I'll get me a plan of attack. Okay, here's the decoder we're going to use. The speaker, capacitor. Now, more than likely, I'll end up probably mill me a notch back in here, maybe. Not quite sure. Let's see. I know that won't fit there, but what I'm hoping is this space under here. I might be able to fit that speaker in right in there, point it down. That'd be just barely enough. Or I can take and mill that down a little bit. So now to do that, I will have to disassemble the frame here, take that apart. And then I can use my Dremel and cut this out. See how deep this thing is. We've got 1 inch, about 300 thousandths. So just over 1 1/4 inch, and 5/16 deep. So what do we have? Approximately just a little over 900. Put this back on for a second. Let's see where we're at here. Okay, sit down on there. There we go. So we're not quite all the way up in here. because I had it in there backward. Okay. Mark that. That way I'll know. Okay. Now we'll get a form a plan, and we'll cut this frame a little bit to fit this. So that I will do off camera, and then I'll show you when I get back. Okay, now before I start milling that, I'm going to take this frame apart, because I am going to have to mill some of it out. So we'll go ahead and I'll show you how to take this apart. So there's a few screws. There's one screw there, one on each end, one in the center under the fuel tank, and then that'll just, well, it should just fall right apart, let's say that. Okay, make sure our screw comes out there. This little isolator. Put that back in there. And you can see that pull this up a little bit. You can see that this motor's already isolated. Rubber band there, rubber band around right in here. So, some tape right in there. Okay. Pull the coupler box off. Put that back in right there where it goes. Okay. Now I should be able to take this piece, this section out right here. I think that's my plan, but I'll show you after when I come back. Okay, we've made it back. We've got our frame milled out. I don't know if you can see that right in there, and right here, this is where the speaker's going to sit. This is the back of the locomotive. This is the front. So our speaker will sit right in here, and the board will sit right in here. So we'll go ahead, take this apart again. Well, let's do this first. Tighten that back up. Now this is going to be, this is the board. Okay, capacitor, speaker, everything. So now I'm going to test fit this, and we'll leave the trucks off and everything, but we'll test fit this and set the body on it just to make sure that the body fits. Run everything out the bottom here. Set our speaker in here. So that's what it'll look like with the speaker and the board. Let me get these wires. run down through this motor opening. And this is kind of a pain to do with nothing attached, but I want to dry fit everything just to make sure that it fits. Okay, there's that. There's our speaker. Now, take our body, slide that right down on there, and voila, we have a perfect fit. So now we can start with the reassembly of everything and wire it. So the only thing I need a spot for right now is the capacitor. So let's take this back apart, that apart. And like I say, I need the spot for the capacitor. And I think that there is enough room. Let's see. What do I want to do with that capacitor? Let me pull it back up out of here. I think there may be enough room right here in this area, right down in here. That would be between the drive shaft and the weight or top of the frame. So I may try that just to see what it'll do. I'll try it before I reinstall the frame, or the trucks, I mean. And I have actually taken before and just laid them right here on top. Maybe that'll be the best thing to do, because I know that works. That'll end up sitting right here on top. It'll sit on top of the truck frame where you attach. So let's go ahead and put this back together. Now, while I've got this apart, I'll go ahead and I'll throw some grease in this. And this is called Super Lube, and it is a Teflon based grease. So while I've got it apart, there's no time like the present to get that all lubed up. Doesn't take but just a second or two. Go ahead and kind of run that a little bit. Just run it around with my fingers. Get that run down through. And that'll be enough in there to give everything a good coating. Let me get this one out. This is the rear one. Okay, here's that. Take and run that around a little bit. Some of the excess, put it back on there. Okay, so there's that. Take some of the old grease off of that. X-Acto knife, more for just cutting, more than for just cutting. Okay. So let's go ahead and pull all of our wires out, set that off to the side. We've got our trucks lubed up. Now we'll go ahead and take the frame back apart. And if you notice, every brand is different. The other two videos I have up are those F units. So I think every brand has its own little challenges. There's nothing you can't overcome. Like I say, I think I've said it in every video. Don't be afraid to try and put one of these in. The first one I installed was in an N scale. I believe it was an AC 4400. A Kato. And I put sound in it. First one I ever did. And it did take a while, but that was because it was the first one that I had done. And everything was so tiny. So there's our motor back in. Go ahead and put that back in. And make sure our wires are out. Make sure we get that up in there. Put that back in our slot. Okay, now we're ready. For the other side of the frame, there, that slid in. That slid in, that slid in, that slid in. Okay, now we can go ahead, put our screws back in. Little magnetism on the screwdriver there. Get us started. And we have to make sure that our little pieces, I guess you'd call those bushings, don't come out of there. Well, now when I put this back together, you go take it down to mill it out. I didn't have a bit of problem. So let's move over here. That way we'll at least have two in it. Move up to the front. Okay, is that? Well, did it again. There. Well, it's like I tell everybody, you got to be smarter than what you're working with. Okay, there. We are back together. Well, that's back together anyway. Now, take our board. Let me pull these wires back just a little bit. Got that over there, and like I say, this capacitor, well, I can lay it. Well, no, I can't lay it in there. Well, I thought I could use that, but I can't. So now it's back to the drawing board. Let's see what this looks like here. There, we'll split that, split that. That'll go there. So for now, that will be what eventually looks like. Let me see. I may have enough room to just lay. And that's going to be too high. I may take and extend this wire. I can lay that back here, because there's plenty of room back there to lay that. This one, no, actually those are the same height. So I'm getting about 1/830 there. Yep, they are the same height. May just have to file that little thing off. Yeah, let me file that off, and I'll try and fit. that capacitor in there. Now you can see right there on those leads, I take liquid black tape and I coat those, because if they short out, you don't want that to short out. It'll ruin your capacitor, and it may ruin your board. I don't know that for sure, but yeah, I'll see if I can lay that right there. There's a little nub right there. I'll cut it off. Just hit that with a file just a touch. Okay, let's see. Get me a small piece of double-sided tape here. We'll see if we can get this to stay while we test fit it. Yeah, let's just go for some Kapton tape. There, that'll hold the board. Now this is going to be a little trickier since I've got the wheels on it. Yeah. I'll just cut a piece. And I use, if you can see that, it's Gorilla Tape, the double-sided Gorilla Tape. I've had good luck with it. The only hard part is getting the backing off of it. So, okay, got a little piece of Gorilla Tape there. I'm going to keep that tucked up there as tight as I can. So we'll stick that in there. And I may end up cutting these off and shortening them up. I may not have to. Like I say, this is going to be kind of tough, because I don't know if I have enough room for the wires and the board up here, because all the wires I end up trimming down. So we'll get it all wrapped up. was going to happen. There's not going to be enough room. For all of the wires. Let's see if I can eliminate part of this problem. I'll run them back down through the frame. There's half. So now I'm getting them one at a time. Okay, let's try. This is an old piece of tape I'm trying to use. And with those going down the side, that is not going to work. Let's see if we can slide those under that speaker. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I'm not gonna have any luck with that. Yeah, that's not going to work there. It would work back here, but it won't there. Well, I can do this. I can get that and put it that way. It'll be up under the cab. Yeah, that'll work once I get all the wires and everything. Oh, there. It did go in. Okay. Alright. So I can do it that way. It'll take just a little tweaking, but that'll work. So I believe I will take a break. Okay, we've come back. We've got our test fit done. We know everything fits. Now we're going to pull it apart again. And we will start with our final assembly. I think the first thing that I'll do is to take and I'll cut me a piece of double-sided tape and I'll tape, let's see, yeah, let me take this piece of Kapton tape off here. That way we'll get the decoder loose. We'll get all of our wires pulled up back through. Okay. Then I can go ahead and with a piece of double-sided tape, tape the decoder down. And I'll put that on there. Now I am going to take, because if you'll notice, and maybe you can't see that, this little indentation right here, it does have this plastic blue covering over it, but I'm going to take a piece of Kapton tape and lay right across here. That way if these ever wear through, it won't short onto the motor. Actually, I'll probably take and cut a piece of black tape and cut that and put that on there. That'll give it a little more insulation. So we'll put that there. Make sure that we're lined up. And we are centered there now. So there I've taped the board down. Okay. Got my soldering iron on. I can take now I've got these are my motor wires, and looking at the old board, the orange is positive and the green is negative. So I can take and strip those back. Now those will be connected to orange, will be to orange. Take my orange off of the decoder here. That's this wire. I'll cut that off just a little bit. I want to kind of cut that just short enough where I'll have enough room to put some piece of shrink tubing on that. So that'll be good for that. Take and strip that off just a little bit. Take and strip that off just a little bit. get my flux out. And I'll flux these wires. Okay. Then I can tin these up. Clean that tip off just a little bit. My roll of solder. And all it takes, I've got this set on, it's set pretty high. Flux those up. Get them twisted around there. Let me get, I'll have to get my heat shrink tubing. So I'll go ahead and cut some small pieces of heat shrink. Now that I've got those tinned, slide that down on there. And that is very tiny. So I'm going to try this just by holding it with my fingers. I think that got it. Yep. So there's one. Slide my tubing over top of it. Then I just use the soldering iron to melt that. So there's one. Now we'll take our green, and our green from the motor will go to our gray on the board. That is right here. Let me get this untangled from all of this mess. Okay, then we'll go ahead and we'll cut these fairly short again. Strip that off. And I didn't get it big enough. Okay. While I'm at it, I'll go ahead and cut me a couple pieces. Well, I already got the heat shrink cut for that one. Yeah, I'll clean my tip off again. A little bit of Wrong order. We get a little bit of flux. There's that one. There's that one. Just to make sure. Clean that off. Now I'll go ahead and put a little more solder on the iron, tin that up. That tinned up. Go ahead and touch that. Slip our heat shrink on there. And once again, that is really small, so clean that tip off one more time. Put just a touch more. Put that together a little bit. Okay. Now we'll squeeze that together just a little bit. Way I can make sure my heat shrink goes across it. Okay. Heat that up. Always like to keep that tip clean. Okay, so we've got our power. Well, we've got our motor hooked up. That'll set just so. So we'll have plenty of room there. Next thing I want to do is strip off these red and black that are fed from the trucks. We'll do the same up here in the front. And then we'll go back and we'll tin all four of these. Get our flux out. tinned off. Okay. Tin up the tip. Just a touch. Touch. There we've got all those tinned up. Now what I need to do is these will connect together, or that should be over here on this side. This tangle of stuff. My red is over there on that side. Okay. So now I always end up having pieces of wire left around. That I can use. Okay. Strip the ends off of that. We'll go ahead and tin some of this up. I already dipped it in the flux. So take that. Get that all soldered up. And I will put heat shrink on this. So get my red wire. Strip that off. Put a little bit of flux on it. Okay. Get a little more flux on that, or a little more solder on that tip. Okay. Now I can, let's see, cut a couple more pieces of heat shrink. I'll drop that one. Go with that. There's our heat shrink on that side. Now let's see. Those are long enough. I will end up taking, since this is the front, the engineer side is red. So we will take our red wire, and I think when I put this on, I could put it back here and then just connect this side up here. But I think I'll go ahead and put the heat shrink here, since this is going to be right at the speaker. How much room do I have there? Well, I'll go ahead and heat shrink those, and then I'll take my red wire, and that'll connect over there. My black wire will connect to this. So we'll get it all straight here. Let me go ahead and heat shrink this up. That way I won't have to worry about it. There's that. And like I say, what I'll end up doing is I'll cut this off, and I'll run these two together over to this one, and that'll give me the length I need. Cut that off about right there. Strip that. I've already got that one tinned. Get us a little bit of flux here. A little bit of flux there. Basically, this is just a repetitive process. Tin the wire. Tin the wire. Now I'll go ahead, connect these two. Give that a little twist. Okay, there's that. Back to the tubing. Cut us a little longer piece for this. We'll make sure we got everything. Tin this up while I still got both hands free. This one will hold. trying to do this left-handed. And it didn't work out so well. I did get it connected though. But I don't like that connection. Let's try that again. There, that's better. Slide our heat shrink down over top of it. There's our engineer's side. Yep, my capacitor wire came off. To make sure that goes back together. So now we can take our, get that out of the way. Take our black wire, and I said our black, what did I say? Was it the other black? Okay. Try and keep these things untangled as much as I can. Run that under there. And I'll run that through there. That way at least it'll all be underneath. Go ahead and cut that. We can strip these two. Go ahead and flux that in there. Some flux on that. A little bit of flux there. I've got my piece of tubing. Go ahead and tin everything up. Same process again. Get our tubing on there. Okay, we've got our power hooked up, we've got our pickups hooked up, well, the motor's hooked up and the pickups are hooked up. Now let me shrink that. Plenty of movement. I can go ahead and cut a piece of double-sided tape is how I mount these. We'll get that mounted on there. I do like this double-sided tape. If I need to, I can run those wires up over top of that. I did leave myself enough room. Still got enough room there. And if I have to, I can run them back underneath. But we'll give it a shot. Okay, now resituated here. Now at this point in time, well, after I fix this, all these different function wires are in the way. Strip this off. Now I was thinking about cutting this anyway and running it. I may run it. I don't want to put it there. My original idea was to put it here and just let it go. But actually, I mean, yeah. So let me go ahead and fix this. And we'll see if we have any power. I don't know why I am trying to hold that like I am. I've got this little third hand that I made. And wouldn't you know it, the alligator clip is not long enough or wide enough for the capacitor. Put this over here. Actually, I think I can hold that right there on it. I've already tinned that. So our capacitor's back on there and I didn't have to use my third hand. So at this point, we can go ahead and see if we have any power. Before I hook up the lights. So let me pause this for a second. Okay, so I'm back here and I've got my little test stand set up with my power hooked up. The NCE system is what is powering this at this time. Okay, so immediately we have sound. So turn that off, and it is set to 3. So our horn works. Of course, I don't have the headlight hooked up. So let me see if we have any forward motion. There's our forward. And there's our reverse. So right now, our installation is going well. So now I'll go ahead and I'll take the take this off of the programming track, and the only function that we're going to use is going to be our front and rear lights. So I'll end up removing some of these wires. I know I need my blue. Blue is the front. Actually, blue is the common. I mean, the front light is the white. The rear light is the yellow. So I'll need these 3 lights. The rest of them, I'll end up, just to simplify things, I'll get rid of them. I'll cut them off because I'm not putting any other functions on this locomotive. So there's no need to ball these up. Of course, I can ball them up, I guess, but like I say, there's no need to. And the other thing I want to do is I'll get this capacitor figured out where I want to put it. I know I had it up here at one point, so I guess I could always cut the wires down a little bit and go with that. But so let's get rid of some of this stuff, move the programming track, yada yada. Okay, let's see, I'm back here. I'm going to go ahead and cut these wires and get them out of my way. I do need the yellow, the white, and the blue for the front and the rear lights. And then the rest of them, I am just going to go ahead and snip off. The violet, my yellow, my white, my blue. Cut the green one off. That way they'll be out of the way. I won't have to deal with them. These are separate function wires. So I can try try to feed that back through. What do I got there? That's the black one. Actually, it's a brown one. I can pull that through there. That red one. Keep those. And then the green, yellow. White. So let's go ahead and the white. Brown. Red. Violet. Yellow. Green. Those wires I do not need. So that cleans it up tremendously. And I still think, well, there is actually, now that I've got that stuff straightened out, there's enough I can just attach that capacitor back there. Use this piece of double-sided tape. And I will take and put some I'll put some liquid black tape right on top of that. That way, if that capacitor touches anything, that alongside the double-sided black tape will keep that in position so it won't rattle around. And if I do need to take it out to service the trucks, that is rubber and it can be cut. So the only thing left to do is hook up the lights. And the white light, or the white wire, thread this up through here. That is the forward. The yellow is the rear. And the blue is the common between the two. So think this may be a good place to stop for today. And work on it tomorrow. Okay, let's see now. I took in, well, let's see, let me pull this over here so you can see it. On the capacitor, zoomed in on that a little bit. I've placed the capacitor in the back, and on the top here I've placed some liquid black tape on the top of the capacitor so it won't short out. And I've got it double-sided tape to the speaker, and I also put a little dab of the liquid black tape right here to hold it. And the stuff, it will release, so if I need to get in here to pull this rear truck out, I can. And when I did that, I also took, and I'm changing out the lights, so I have put an LED in there. That's a 3mm LED, and you can see it has the resistor built into it. So that way all I have to do is hook it up to, let's see, the blue is the positive, the common for both the front and the rear. The yellow, or actually the blue is the common, the yellow is the rear light, the white is the front light. So I'll go ahead now and we'll hook up this front light here. I'll go ahead and trim these down a little bit, and then we'll hook them up. So we'll get that stripped off. And this is more just repetitive soldering and wiring, whatnot. Now I'll leave that just a little long, which it is a little long. That way we'll be able to get the shell off of it. So cut that one out right there. Strip that off. We'll need another piece of, actually we'll need 2 pieces, well 3 pieces of heat shrink. So I'll just go ahead and cut those. All 3 of those. Like I say, my white is my forward light. My flux out here. I've already got my soldering iron heated up. Little flux on that. Some flux on that. Put some flux on the other side. Okay, there's that. Go ahead and clean the tip. We'll get some solder on it here. Tin the tip of that. Okay, there's that. So I've got both of those tinned. And put that back in there. Heat shrink. can go ahead and hook this up. Well, today's been one of those days. Okay, there's my white for my front light. Go ahead and get my heat shrink on that. Alright, there's that. Now this common, and the other thing I did too is I made this little piece here to go in the back. This is another 3mm light, and that'll install just like that in the back right here, and that'll block the light. It also holds this bulb, and it'll be directly in line there with that. So let me go ahead and we'll get it soldered up. So that's my blue. Cut a little more of that off. That way we'll have plenty to lift the shell off. That fluxed up there. I'll go ahead and I'll cut my yellow. Stripped off. Some flux on there, don't need that much flux. Go ahead, a little more solder on the iron there. Okay, these I've already got done. Oh. Almost forgot. Don't want to forget the heat shrink. Get my third hand out here. Okay, now okay, there's that one. Heat shrink tube over it. There's that one. Now, my commons. I'll take and hook two of them together. Let me thread this through. That way it'll at least be on the same side. Okay. Seem to be all thumbs today for some reason. Okay, there's that. Now we'll get my other piece of heat shrink. That there. Okay. So now that's all of our wiring. The heat shrink on it. Okay. So there is all of that. Now all I got to do is just put this in here, and we will put a dab of glue on it. So we'll get that all situated. Okay, so I've got my lights hooked up. I have got the rear light installed here. I did that off camera because that was kind of hard to get in there. So I've got that in there, front lights in there, and I've got this cover. This came with it originally. So, and that blocks some of the view when you're looking in through the cab, keeps some of the light down. So I've got that double-sided tape down. Now we'll go ahead and we'll put this together. Get our wires tucked up in there. Okay, so that went together really nice. So we've got a couple of screws. Get these in here. And then we will be able to put this on the track and we'll test it. And I've got my 2 screws from my fuel tank in there. It never fails. I always put that on. I've got a 50-50 shot at putting that on the right way the first time, and I always put it on the wrong way. So, put our 2 screws back in. Back in here. Well, evidently I don't have that lined up. There we go. There's that one. One more. And so now we have completed our GP35. It now has sound. Got a new Digitrax decoder. So we'll put that on the track and we'll give it a test. Alright, we've got it set up on the track, and let's see there. We've got it fired up. So it looks like we've got a success. Let's go with there's our headlight. We've got our bell. We've got our horn. Let's see what we can do here with the speed. We'll start it up. Start it off kind of slow. So everything seems to work there. Let's hit there's our reverse, and we've got our light. And now we'll step it back. Alright, so it looks like we've had success with this install. So our next step will be we'll put it on the programmer, we'll program it to its number 3579, and we'll go through some of the speed steps, get it straightened out, because between 2 and 3 you could see that it jerked there a little bit. So we'll get that taken care of.